that recording? Yes. All right. So, greetings and salutations. I've got a little time to kill while I wait for my kid to get out of private school here. So, first and foremost, y'all gonna be mad. I accidentally deleted the BFRPG Let's Build an Adventure files. So, permanently. It came with me trying to clear out some space and being lazy and tired and not wanting to pick through everything individually. So I deleted entire folders, and that really hurt. It sucks. But that's okay because I'm getting ready to. Because I'll explain how I'm going to finish up that series in addition to answering some other questions. Somebody asked me if I could choose a single OSR retro clone that is not TSR era brand name D&D. What would I choose? Now, when you say OSR retro clone, it's presumed that you're talking about non D&D, non TSR stuff. You're talking about something more widely available, and that would be, get ready for it. It's going to be White Box Fantasy Medieval Adventure game. Now that's probably going to take some of you by surprise. A whole bunch of you are going to be saying, "Well, you made a lot of stuff on your uh, BFRPG series," and that's true. While I'm always going to have a soft spot for it, um, as I kept going along in the hobby, I favored more rules light systems. And White Box is so rules light, man. I mean, it's OD&D cleaned up, excuse me, and repackaged in a way. Plus, I just like everything being D6. Being honest with you, there's the GM needs to have a few more dice besides just a D6, but the players themselves only really need a D6. With that being said, it's easy to house roll, it's easy to homebrew with, so there you go. And so, how I'm going to finish my adventure series, I guess I'm going to redo it with white box, my personal white box stuff that I put at my tables. I'm trying to decide how I want to do that because I don't want to spoil that at all. Um, so I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh yeah, some little clarifications and addendums and whatnot. So for that last video where you saw the hex map on the on Corid and all that, um, something to remember is that when you're placing a settlement, try to put it by water. Water, since the beginning of recorded human history, has been a prime resource in determining civilizations being built around it. Now, not every civilization, of course, was built around a water source, but by and large, the majority of your settlements that you see in real life were built around water sources. So try to take that into consideration. It could be a river, it could be a lake, it could be a pond, whatever you want to do. Another thing too is don't get so hung up on the details as much. The hex map is really just to give a broad generalization of a 6 mile radius. Really, what I personally do is I draw the localized map on a normal standard hex grid, or not hex grid, normal grid paper. If it helps you to visualize what I'm talking about, if you've ever seen the wilderness map for the Keep on the Borderlands, that one is very localized and it shows you all the potential adventuring spots besides just the Caves of Chaos, besides just the Cave of the Unknown, and besides just the Keep. So that's a thing to continue to keep in mind as well. Uh, Basically, if you're going to look at some more resources, I highly suggest, in terms of mapping, definitely consider Dirty Histories and Hobbies, uh, ran by Archaeomat, who is an archaeologist, and this is kind of his thing. My thing has always been more, I'm a blue collar worker, unless unless it has something to do with engineering or something. I guess that's probably why my grids look so clean for the most part, just because I'm used to blueprints. Um, Still struggle with circles, but not too bad. Uh, I think some people have asked me why things look so boxy all the time, and I'm here to tell you because that's just how people build things. From personal experience, having worked not only in a factory and knowing the layouts of factories, but also in terms of some car parts. Um, you can cover a lot more space with square feet than you can by trying to cover roughly the same amount of feet with the diameter of a circle all the way around for the same amount of feet, if that makes sense. Because I used to have to fix error-proof systems and I had to repaint the stripes on them. And tolerances with circles were a little bit more charitable than they were with square-shaped pinholes on these parts. So yeah, I know a little bit what I'm talking about on that particular part. People build things very square, and they tend to try to avoid circles primarily for that reason. You cover a lot more ground with a square shape than you can with a circle for the roughly the same amount of space. That being said, trying to think of anything else. Uh, some people have asked my opinion on certain games. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. That's not what my channel's about unless I've actually played the game. Like if I've played the game, I'll give my opinion on it. Uh, like I've had somebody ask me about my opinion on Candela Obscura. You can find videos from people who've actually played it, and they will give you a better idea than I could. I just know that it looks like hot garbage, and I'm not going to touch it. So there's that. That's really about it. Um, there's a couple more questions I'm trying to think of right now, off the top of my head. Oh, I got figured out now. People asking me if some of my opinions have changed since some of my previous videos have come out. Since I do have a little bit more time still to talk about this. Some of them have changed, not a lot, and some of them have changed quite a bit. Now, pardon me. So, rules as written is one that I've kind of changed my mind about to some degree, meaning that I'm still in favor of it to a degree of verisimilitude and game mechanics, but at the same time, I subscribe to the fact of don't let it rule your game. It is your table after all, and if there's a mechanic that's getting in the way of how smoothly your table runs, then do away with it. Some of the things I've said in the past, like monsters, like I made my whole deal about how I really strongly dislike Goliath and Aarakocras uh, as player character races, and I stand by that. I strongly dislike them, but that's only because I've subscribed to the philosophy of less choices in the beginning to clutter things up equals more opportunity to roleplay things in a more consistent way. Like, you don't have to have an assassin class to play a thief as an assassin, if that makes sense. But again, that's your game. I've homebrewed stuff like this before. Like, if I wanted more mechanics for like an assassin, especially in White Box, I just simply took the thief and changed the thievery skill to assassination and try to give a brief overview of what is covered by that stat. Otherwise, it's functionally the same as an assassin or as a thief. I think with the exception that I decided that assassins can wear heavier armor, so they're kind of like better fighters. But I tweaked their pardon me, but I tweaked their experience points by a lot to justify that, so that you weren't getting this super overpowered fighter. I've done dwarf clerics, for example, an option that is not in White Box. I've done that at the table. I've simply took it to where a dwarf can become a cleric at level 3, meaning he'll gain the skills of a cleric that's 2 levels lower than him, if that makes sense. I've thought about buffing that a little bit so that maybe it's just like he gains a level of cleric one level lower than him. Still trying to figure it out. I haven't received any massive complaints, especially because like dwarves normally top out at level 6 anyway. But that's kind of why I wanted to buff it a little bit, because you do have that cap. My personal house rule is you don't have to retire at level 6 or 10 or whatever, but you do stop gaining levels. So that's a house rule. Like, I've just gotten a lot more lenient on that particular point. It made no sense why in the world I should continue to be such a heckler, and I felt like I was coming off as one in a lot of that stuff. I still stand by my points, but not so hardcore as I was before. So, because at the day we're talking about games, right? Oh, and somebody else, before I end this, somebody else asked if my opinion on safety tools has changed. The you must not. So some of those that are newer, because some people have actually asked my opinion on safety tools. That material exists. I might do a revisit, but essentially my opinion has not changed. I still think they're hot garbage and they're useless. And I think they introduce a very nasty habit into the hobby myself, that being the censorship of the GM, because the GM will be filling you out on what the basic feel and theme and like how mature the session is going to be anyway, before the campaign starts. So, like, I don't see a need in safety tools. Plus, they don't work anyway. Uh, because like that whole Adam Cole thing is a very good point that they don't work. But it looks like they're getting ready to let out, and I think I've covered everything I need to anyway. So, as always, guys, take care. God bless. I'll see you on the other side. Apologies that the basic fantasy version is not going to get done. Uh, wish I would have took the extra moment to look at that.